Hi, welcome to Barmy Army fan cams after a 2-2 draw against City. It certainly could and probably should have been a lot worse after the first half. So I think on the balance of play, we might have some mildly appeased Reds. First of all, Ian, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Not quite the result you wanted. Thoughts on the game?
We should have been dead and buried at half time. It could have been 5-6-0 easily. Honor, unfortunately, was just getting caught out of position time and time again at right back. And they were walking through us. Mary's made 2 good saves and some really poor City finishing, which is something they've been known for all season. So thankfully, again, they didn't bring their shooting boots because it could have been horrendous. We could have been embarrassed at half time. But second half, don't know what Casey said. Okay, there was the odd moment in the second half where we were a little bit nervous at times, but otherwise we were much better in the second half. Got the ball down, played, and City playing at the back themselves gave away, got us back in the game with that rocket out of Tobin Heath. And then Kirsty Hansen with a scruffy, pinball goal from a corner. I'll take that.
Yeah. Jack's joined the party. Nice of you to come along and join us on fan cams. After the first half, it would have been easy to look at City in terms of that's probably the best they've played, and lots of people on Twitter suggested that's City's best performance. Taking that away, what were your thoughts on our performance? What changed for you in terms of personnel, first half to second half?
Well, unlike Ian, I think I do kind of know what Katie said at half time. And
you might not be able to repeat it here, though.
No, probably not. But she put a rocket or a boot up in certain areas that probably needed to be, and I think that was the major change. I mean, I'll be honest. I thought first 5-10 minutes we did well. You saw similar things to what you'd already seen against Arsenal. Pressing high, created a couple of early chances. Tooney, if she's a bit more accurate, maybe a goal, maybe at least get on target. So we started well, but then little errors started to creep into the game and we completely collapsed. And City, like Ian mentioned, like other people here, I think would agree, they were well deserving of their 2-goal lead, and it could have been more. That said, the response in the second half, I'm not saying that, oh wow, it was a brilliant game from us, but we capitalized on a couple of mistakes that they made, and I'm very, very glad that we did. I know you always want to win, but all things considered, we take a draw from this. Very important not to lose at this stage. Yeah. Not let City back into the race, and keep that a bit of distance with Chelsea and Arsenal, who play tomorrow, so who knows what will happen there.
Psychologically, just to keep that unbeaten streak going. Fiona, lack of being clinical enough let us down again?
Yeah, I think if Tooney had scored that early chance, we'd be 1-0 up and it'd have been a different game. It seemed to be that they that were on top of things a bit. They were putting us under pressure, and we were starting to panic. We couldn't keep the ball for any spells, that kind of thing. And then in the second half, when we were on top of them, we weren't taking our chances. It should have been 2-2 a lot earlier. We should have had a third. There were chances in there, but like against Arsenal, we weren't taking them. We were at times being a bit too selfish or trying to score the perfect goal when in a derby where it's 2-2 and you need a winner. Don't necessarily go for anything, but sometimes it's worth just taking a shot. And I think that needs to be worked on. Yeah, a point at half time. If you said we get back to 2-2 and we take a point, I would have just taken it straight away. But seeing the chances we had at the end of the game, we could have scored a third. We're happy, but it could have been more.
That's what I'm thinking in terms of the balance of play. That at half time to only be 2-0, and let's face it, they scored their second just as the half time. Well, not quite on the half time whistle, but moments before. We could have got into half time at 1-0, which would have been an absolute escape. So at that point, had you offered us a point, I think we'd have all taken your hand up. We would have all snapped your hand off. Then to have those chances towards the end, but also still not playing with great conviction in defence. Shane, no Uber Eats delivery today for you, but coming through the door. But on the balance of play, happy to take a point?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. It reminded me so much of the FA Cup game from January, where City just dominated it. And, back then it was 1-0 half time and they scored early in the second half. We start the second half at 2-0 down again. And to get the point, ultimately, yes, you have to be pleased, considering our showing in the first half. Maybe I'm wearing red tinted glasses. I thought we were worthy of the win based on the second half. I thought we could have gone and got it, but fair result in the end, I suppose.
That FA Cup game was going through my head a bit, because when we were 2-0 down, I was thinking we got it back to 2-2, and then there was the goal that was never given. I don't buy into this. It wasn't a goal. It was, and then obviously they went and scored the third. So in my head at 2-2, I'm thinking it's a stick or twist situation. Do we go for it, or do we just defend what we've got? Because actually at half time, that point is massive. And also psychologically now, we have taken points from every one of the supposed big three. And we've scored against them. There's no 0-0s in that. We've scored goals against them. Jake, your thoughts on a very up and down two halves? Because it is a game of two halves, that one feels like.
Yeah, no, I'm relieved. I'm happy. Look, I'm happy to get a draw against City. And saying that, you might think, oh, that's a bit of a strange thing to say. But you look at the moves, like in the call at half time, we were all dejected. I was being quite negative about it, saying I thought the game had gone. But as you say, it was very reminiscent of the FA Cup game, going 2 down and just being too much to get back into it. But what a second half performance. Look, they stepped it up. It still wasn't at our best, but they put the effort in. Midfield started to come together. We started to attack a lot more confidently. And all of a sudden, that Tobin Heath rocket, and we're believing again. So after a very, very poor first half, as you say, we got ourselves back into it. And a point is a great result. Because as you say, we've not lost any of those games against the top three, albeit we're at home and we've got tougher away trips against them all later in the season. But it's still, we're still right now, as it stands, top of the league. We probably won't be there by the end of the weekend, but we're unbeaten. We've played our 3 hardest fixtures at home so far. Look, I'm happy. I really am.
Yeah. Ian, fair to say our worst 45, probably City's best 45. Not that I want to focus too much on City, but to come away with a point from probably our worst showing for 45 minutes. We've got to take some positives from that. Ahead of Thursday, because I'm also thinking ahead to this cup game on Thursday. If we'd have lost that game today, that's a big, big task for those players. There's going to be changes, I dare say. But looking ahead to Thursday, surely we've got to take something from playing that badly and still coming out with something.
Yeah, we do. There will be changes. But the good thing is, though, after it's an international break. So we're not protecting players for the weekend, and all our English players no longer have a game to go into. They just have a camp. So I think there will be changes. I think you'll probably see Mary go onto the bench and Rambo will come in, and you might see some of the fringe players start. Lucy Stan and people like that who don't normally get starts will probably start. But I can't see there being a big change because there's no need for it. Tobin's not going anywhere. Kristen's not going anywhere. LJ's not going anywhere. We can still probably play a fairly strong 11 against City on Thursday. But as you said, if we go into that game off the back of a loss, I would, training would be they'll be down in training most of the week, but they've got some confidence that they didn't play well. You've come out with a point. The last time I can remember us playing that poorly was probably at Durham away.
Jack and I are still having nightmares about that. Come on.
So
I'll just get flashbacks then. Just
the trauma.
It was a bad day. Let's be honest. It was a very bad, and it was freezing cold. That's probably the worst performance since then. We've had some bad games, but not performances, especially in that first half, that were that bad. As I said, we could have been 5 or 6-0 down. I just had the stats come up on the Twitter thing here. City had 55.1% of the possession over the game. That was probably nearer 60-40, I would have thought, in the first half. They've had 22 shots on us throughout the whole game. Only 4 were on target.
What are our stats? What are our shots?
13 shots, 8 on target.
That's better. That's better than we've had it for a long. Certainly in terms of percentages last week, but we were 20-odd shots and 5 on target. That's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on target. But that comes back to City not being able to finish again. We said this against Chelsea on the opening game of the season. Chelsea weren't taking their chances either.
All of which makes getting a point out of that game massive. Now,
yes.
Fiona, you and I decided before this game started, we are going to start crowdfunding for a statue for Tobin Heath, because after her comments midweek about how Manchester is red and various other things, we've already decided that her place in United history is secure. Talk to me about her goal.
It's just a beautiful goal. You could tell against Arsenal, she was frustrated with herself for not scoring. And so she's the kind of player, she has that mentality that I want to keep improving. I'm not going to sit back. So I think you want to score against the Reds. And she basically, her comments suggested that was how she would feel against the Blues, sorry. So, it's just a great goal. We needed something quickly in the second half. We needed to make something of the game and as early as possible to give ourselves a chance of getting another and then another and so on. I think you could see on her face how much it meant. She's a winner, she's a fighter, and that kind of showed in the goal. But yeah, a rocket.
And in her celebration as well. And I think from a fan's point of view, I'd have been really upset had that goal been for nothing, had we not managed to use it as a platform. Jack, talk to me about some of the substitutions, because I know they were confusing us, certainly when Tobin came off. But in terms of the personnel we finished the game with.
Yeah, it was a bit strange. I mean, not necessarily the people that came on, just the people that went off, rather. Like the decision-making was confusing. Casey has the answers. I'm sure she knows why she made those decisions. And, at the end of the day, okay, we've got a point when beforehand we didn't. But for me, I wouldn't have taken off Kristen so early. I wouldn't have taken off Tobin, who was definitely our best player, and scored a magnificent goal, a rocket. I'm hoping that all the players look at how Tobin scored that goal and say, "This is how we shoot from now on. Just smash it." So yeah, it was again, Casey has obviously different thoughts about it, but personally I would have taken off Tooney maybe for Lauren, and Lucy, I might have brought her on, or Katie instead of Hayley, because I think Hayley wasn't that great today. With that said, I would have brought on Lauren, but I don't think Lauren had the impact that she needed to have. I mean, she had a couple of moments where again, we know all about Lauren. I think Fiona mentioned before about being too selfish. I think she falls under that category, sadly. To her credit, sometimes it works. It didn't work today. She should have passed the ball a bit more than she did. But if she scores, we're all happy. Just didn't happen today.
We're all celebrating her going on a run and having a worldie. Shane, during the week, it was also revealed that she'd said in the dressing room after the Arsenal game, it means nothing if we don't go and get something against City. That kind of mentality, is that what was most on show today? Because in terms of play, I don't think it was that great in the second half. It was much better, obviously. But did we see a real United fight back that days of old watching the men we've witnessed?
Yeah. How much of it was because of a half-time team talk and how much potential embarrassment, we'll never know. But let's face it, anything mildly good was going to be much better than the first half what we put out. So it's maybe that was lingering in their heads. Maybe she went in and had words at half-time with them and reminded them of what she said. And don't make me look like an idiot because it's a derby game and what was on in the first half didn't look like it again from us. But thankfully we've come out second half, we put the goals in, should have got a third. I mean, yeah, they had a player on the line and the keeper's pulled another one out of the bag against us, which she seems to keep doing. So, well, maybe that look will change Thursday and we'll we'll sneak one past her. And
also, their second goal was offside. But anyway, that's just our natural issue that we've got with refs and liners and how useless they are.
Ian can add that linesman onto his little list that's going.
That list's getting pretty big, I should imagine, by now, Ian.
You're running out of officials.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me because
I'll be honest, it's one of those that you couldn't really see by the naked. I mean, it's one of those that you would need VAR for probably, but we're not going to get.
I'd argue differently though. If the linesman's in line with the play, then she's ahead of him, and he'll know she's offside. He was further forward than she was.
Yeah, it's the linesman's positioning on that. If he was in line, he would have seen it, but because he's slightly forward of play, the angle he's got, she looks on.
I can't actually believe Jack's giving a lino and out here. Jake, before we go on to everybody's favourite question about player of the match, I know Lucy Stan, and I've waited on this one for you. She came on at the end, and I know you're a big fan of Lucy Stan. Did she make a difference? Because I actually thought she added something to the midfield that showed she should have been on sooner.
No, she did definitely, and we'll watch back the whole watch along. I wasn't very happy when she came on, and I hate to say that. I think I was more furious about Tobin going off and it not being the right change. But of course, even though I was ranted, I was still happy to see Lucy on the pitch. She did make a difference. Absolutely, she shored up the midfield. She added a lot, I think, going forward in terms of when Tobin went off, the whole midfield sort of came together, which is something we had in all match. And got round LJ to give her support. Kirsty was still bombing down the wings. We had obviously Jackie, Hayley, and then Lucy as a middle three playing together. And I think that's the only time in the match where we dominated in midfield. So I think Lucy did make a difference. And obviously the header at the end, she nearly made the difference and scored the winner, but it wasn't to be.
Oh, it would have been sweet. Right, last question. Dead simple. One word answer. Player of the match. Birthday boy. When you're ready. Sorry?
Tobin Heath.
Tobin Heath. Jack?
Tobin.
Tobin Heath. Jake?
Tobin.
Ooh, we're going to get a full house here, Shane?
Tobin.
Fiona?
Manchester's favourite, Tobin.
Let's get that statue ready. Honourable mention, I think, for Kirsty Hansen, who came on.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely.
Gave us a little bit more energy. And also credit to, I think, Honor Badia, who came up better in the second half. And I think she needed to, but she still did it. So we're saying Tobin's player of the match. Either way, it's a 2-2 draw against City. It's worth watching back, if only for Tobin's goal. It was an absolute moment of beauty and just goes to show what can happen when you press. Pressure. Can't say press because everyone gets misled then. Fiona, Shane, Jake, Jack, Ian, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everybody who watches. And we're all off to hold a celebratory cup of fizzy orange even for Ian, raise it to him for his birthday. Back on Thursday. Hopefully we can get the winner this time. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.